Okay, so I'll be giving you CSUBUY P2P very high level update, what's been accomplished, what's currently in progress, and what's coming next. So what's been accomplished is we attended the user acceptance testing. So about 2 weeks ago, our operations team went to Channel Islands. There were about 150 scripts that we had to test, making sure that our configuration is correctly set up, as well as making sure that all these other features are working correctly. We will be continue to work on it probably throughout October to make sure that everything is working correctly, and then we'll be signing off on the user acceptance testing. We are also working very closely with IT to add users to CFS and CSUBUY P2P, so assigning the roles. So that's what we are doing currently, as well as completing the DOA import file. So meaning CO has created a DOA module, delegation of authority module within CFS, and they asked us to identify the delegation of authority, the people who will be the delegation of authority, and then we'll be importing those people into that module. So CO is also continuing to hold these end user compliance admin approver demo series. So if you haven't had a chance to attend those demo series, that's okay. We are getting the recordings from them and then saving them into our CSUF Financial Services YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find that there. Another thing that we're doing is verifying supplier contact information for supplier onboarding. So suppliers are going to get invitations starting October. So we are going to make sure that the contact information is correct. Okay. What's coming next? So we are going to be doing our own training. And then we'll be doing some supplier onboarding starting October. Champion training is something that I am planning on. So I've been contacting each area to identify the champion, at least one person. All of you guys are champions, but there are some units that did not have any champions. So I'll probably be contacting them to make sure that we have at least one person. So from each area, and we'll be inviting them to kind of a more earlier training so they can be more of the contact person for your unit. Our operational team will be available, but it will be good to have one person from each area for easier communication and training needs. So that's what we'll be doing. End user training, Chancellor's office is actually planning that January of 2026 before we go live, but we do want to start earlier than that, so probably December and then throughout January. We don't want to provide training too early so that people will forget. So I think that's what they're thinking is providing end user training close to the date when we go live. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn it over to Alex Arias. He's one of our buyers to do some demo in the testing environment. So you'll be able to kind of get a sneak peek of what it looks like, and he will be doing like very simple requisition. He will walk you through that so that you kind of see initial kind of introduction training of creating requisition. So I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thanks, Caroline. Hey, everyone. I'm Alex Arias, buyer over in contracts and procurement. I'll share my screen and walk through a very generalized, example of a requisition, what it looks like, and how you get to certain areas in P2P. So this is the homepage of P2P. It's got plenty of information here. These little icons here with the photos, they are what we call forms in P2P. And so each form is aimed at triggering specific compliance workflow approvals. So if you're buying an IT product, you would use the IT forms. If you need something that's facilities management related, you'd use the facilities form. Hospitality related, you'd use the hospitality form, so on and so forth. But for today's example, we don't have a lot of time on the call, so I'm just going to go through like a very generalized, quick example just to run through it. So in P2P, we have what we call now carts. So this helps requesters sort of build carts and put stuff in draft mode, so that if you're working with people within your department, you can build carts while you're still waiting on information. So if you're starting a new one, you would go into your cart, create cart. It's nice because you can name your carts, so it'll help you keep organized. So for this example, I'm just going to do classroom equipment for Dr. Z. So continue shopping. It takes you back into that homepage that I just went into. So again, depending on the item you're trying to purchase, whether it's a good or a service, if it falls into one of these categories, that's the specific form you would want to use. Again, keeping it very generalized, I'm going to go into the general folder, goods and services request. So this is the instructions for each form. So each form is going to have this list of instructions. It's going to tell you only use this form for these goods and services. Do not use it for these goods and services. So, we're trying to get ahead of people using the wrong form for the specific services they're trying to use. So you can click next after the instructions. Supplier. So this is where you'll look up your supplier. In this case, I know my supplier, ACME. Hit search, it automatically selects it. You can hit next. So now your supplier has been selected. So each form is basically like a questionnaire. So if you're doing an IT purchase, it's very similar to the questionnaire that you answer for the RITM ticket that you would open with IT purchasing. So each form has its own set of questionnaires. So if you're doing the independent contractor form, those questions relate to how is this person an independent contractor and how can we determine if they are or aren't an independent contractor. So in this goods and services form, what types of goods and services are you requesting? I'll just go with equipment, although there are all of these other options. But again, I'm trying to keep it general, so I'm just going to go with equipment. Is this a blanket order? No. Is the request for renewal from a previous PO? No. Does the request include performance terms? No. I'm just going to say no for these. Some of these do have built-in logic. For example, if you click yes on the performance terms, performance start date and end date pop up. So there is some built-in logic behind these forms, depending on how you're answering the questions. We'll hit next. What type of equipment request is this? So I'm just going to say it's general equipment. Is the equipment request for an on-campus location? Yes. Here you can type in the specific lab or office or building that the equipment needs to go into. Let's see. When will the equipment be delivered? You could just kind of guess on this one unless you have a very specific date that you know the equipment will arrive. Is the equipment new or used? New. Is the equipment or its components require additional handling? No. Does the equipment require insurance? No. This is equipment. So provide a justification. You can keep it as brief or as detailed as you can get. So do you have documentation to attach? On the form, if you hit yes, you get a message that says, please upload the quote. So on the form, you don't actually attach anything. That comes on the next step. So I'll show you guys how to get there. So this is your equipment cost details. So I told the system I'm trying to buy some equipment. I know it costs $10,000. I'm only ordering one each for the unit of measure. And then product description is like the actual name of the product. But again, I'm trying to keep it general. So I'm just going to say lab equipment. You can notice here the commodity code is already automatically populated for you because earlier in the form we selected that we're buying equipment. In some cases, the commodity code is not automatically populated and you do have to go in and select your commodity code. But for this example, it's already there. So that's all the questions for the goods and services request form. You would hit next. Here's an overview telling you that you correctly or fully filled out each section of the form. So then you would add and go to cart. So you add and go to cart. Now you're viewing your cart. This is the form you filled out. It's the $10,000 for the one piece of equipment. Again, commodity code is equipment. There's some extra fields that you can or don't have to fill out. Those are optional. These are fields that later on in the process, when it's going through procurement review, the buyer will be reviewing these. So the system will let you proceed without filling out some of these sections. Over here, you can see that it calculated tax because it's a piece of equipment, so it knows that it must be taxed. So it's $10,000 for the equipment plus $725 of tax. So it gives you your total there. So once you're okay with your form and you filled it out completely and you agree with everything you've put in here, you can hit proceed to checkout. And now you notice that you actually have a requisition number. So on this page, this is the very last step that the requester has before they hit submit request, and it actually kicks off workflow approvals. So those workflow approvals will be DOA approval. So that's like your department approver, basically saying, yes, we have the budget to, purchase this equipment or pay for these goods and services. And then depending on what we're purchasing, there will be additional workflow approvals. So for example, if this were a furniture purchase, it would go to facilities for their approval. If it's IT software or hardware, it would go to IT for their compliance workflow approval. So using the correct form is very important so that we don't skip those workflow approvals. You'll also notice that on this page, it's where you would put in your chart field string. So let's just say this is for department 10245, art department. You could put in your program, class, and project numbers if those apply. The fund codes. Most of the time we're using THEFD, so that's good. You would hit save, and your chart field string gets updated. So again, once you're happy here, you would hit submit request. Let me grab the number. Submit request. Okay, so it says requisition submitted. So you can go back into the requisition. Over here on the right-hand side is the workflow approval. So this is very important for the requisitioner to be able to track the status of their requisition. Again, this was a very general example, so it went straight to procurement for their review. But if it was an IT form, it would have said IT review. If it was a furniture order, it would have said facilities review. If it was a independent contractor form, it would have said, independent contractor review. So it's really easy to track the compliance workflow that it's currently in. I will add, I'm in the test environment, so we've actually turned off DOA approvals. So it's skipping the step of where, the department director or manager or whoever the DOA approval is saying, yes, we have the money in our budget to purchase this. That would be the first workflow step that it would go to, but we have that turned off in the test site. So that'll be working in production. But yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell how you would submit a form, turn it into a requisition, and then kick off the workflow. So, obviously within P2P, there's also a place where you can go and see all of the requisitions you submitted. It's very easy to see what workflow each requisition is sitting in. It'll tell you it's in IT review, it's in procurement review, it's still in DOA review. So it's very transparent. It's really easy to move around. It's not like CFS where I feel like you have to go to various screens to see the same information. In P2P, everything is within one page. So the requisition, it tells you where it is for DOA approval, where it is for workflow compliance. It's got all of this information. For comments, you can leave comments. So if the requester wanted to come in here and say, hello, what is the status of this requisition? They can leave a comment. So it's all the communication is now internal with P2P, where with CFS, we're on the phone or going through email and things like that. If there's an attachment, you could attach those here. That's pretty much it. This one is in procurement review, so eventually procurement would get to this, issue a PO, and then the requester would be notified, hey, requisition 4366701 is now a purchase order. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Alex. I think there are a couple of questions. So what if there is shipping charges or installation charges on the quote? How will that be handled?
Yeah. So currently in CFS, shipping is in what we call the miscellaneous header charges. That goes away in P2P, and shipping actually has to now be a line item. So line 1 would be equipment, and then line 2 would be shipping. So let's just say shipping costs $200. Line 2 would be for $200 of shipping and freight. And if there was additional stuff like installation, that could be line 3. Line 3 was $100 for installation. So it's just, you would just add additional lines to your requisition.
Okay. Next question, is entering the chart field a required step? If no, how were default chart field determined for users?
Yeah, so having a chart field is required. You do have to have a chart field. At the minimum, it's the business unit, fund, and department ID. So for requesters, there is a way to set default chart fields. So a good example is if you're in a department where you're consistently using the same chart field, you can set your default to your department ID and your fund code. Or there's also code favorites. So it's like a short list of chart fields. So if you're in a department that you consistently use maybe 5 to 10 chart fields, you can set those so that when you go into updating your chart fields, it's just a short list of chart fields, and you don't have to like type them in every single time. You just look for the string that you need. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Do we know how our changes can be requested after the requisition has been approved? Equivalent of a change order.
Yeah, for sure. So there are change requests within here. So I guess it's just varies by scenario. So if you know that the change is needed before a PO has been issued, you can ask whatever workflow approval that it's in. You can ask them to send the requisition back to you. You can make the changes, then it goes back into it starts the workflow approval process again. Or if it goes all the way through procurement review, a purchase order has been issued, there is a form to request a change order. So it's similar to CFS. You know, in CFS, you submit a requisition, the buyer gets the requisition, they add the line or the additional funds to the quote, whatever the case may be. So within P2P, there's a form to request change orders, and then it goes through the process of workflow, approving the additional funds or whatever the case may be. So.
Does the system send approval reminders if a requisition has been in the DOA step for an extended period of time? So that one,
yeah.
Go ahead,
Alex. Go ahead, Caroline.
So there isn't a reminder function. However, the DOA approval will get an email stating that they need to approve it. But you can certainly see in the workflow, if it has been sitting in the DOA step for a long time, then you can do a comment feature that Alex showed, sending a comment.
Exactly.
Yeah. And is split funding with auxiliaries possible? So ASC will not be in CSUBUY. Philanthropic Foundation, we're trying to set it up so that they will be in CSUBUY. So split funding is possible, but you just have to change the personas. So that's the step that you have to do in the beginning. So you can add a line item for, I guess, the campus purchase, and then change persona, and then you can probably add another line item using the foundation funds to purchase the second item. So that's how it works. But as far as when CSU Philanthropic Foundation will be added, that's still something that we have to work through. So they may not be able to go live at the same time as the campus, but it's in the process. Okay. For hospitality purchases, will the approver follow department DOA, or will it go to accounts payable for review? Okay. When you mention that different departments have their part in the workflow, does that mean we no longer need to get those approvals ahead of time separately, since now they are built into the workflow? So meaning facilities, yes, so those are built into the workflow. So we have identified the people who will be the approvers. So when you're selecting an item that requires those approvals, then it will go to them, and they need to look at it, review it, and approve it before it goes to generate a PO. So is it possible to have a copy of the recording? So I believe Brenda is recording. So yes, we can provide the recording. Okay, any other questions? So obviously this is very high level overview of P2P. There will be more demos and trainings coming up. Again, I am going to be working with each department COOs to identify at least one person from each unit. I am providing the listing of the change champions, for the P2P that that you guys have been attending, but they will be the one who will be confirming who will be the champion for each area, who will be working very closely with us, get more of the advanced training before we go live. Okay. If there is available time, please demo how a PO for an IT software purchase so we can see how IT purchase requests are built in. Yes, maybe for next meeting, maybe if that's something that we can actually show. So we'll schedule that for next time. Okay, all right. So if there is no other questions, we'll end it here. But if any questions comes up, then please feel free to reach out to us. What will happen to the P cards? So P cards will remain the same. The process will remain the same. The only difference is there are punch out catalogs. Alex, if you can maybe show them the punch out vendors.
Yeah, definitely. So there are punch out vendors. So for example, Staples is one of them. So it just takes you straight into the punch out website. So it's basically just like shopping online. You go in here and you look for whatever category you're looking for. If you're looking for a webcam, you can select which webcam you want to purchase. Order. And then it takes you back into P2P. So you'll basically run through the same steps that we just ran through. And there are other punch outs. There's punch outs for lab equipment with like Fisher Scientific. Amazon is one of the punch outs. So there's different punch outs that you could use for whatever you're looking for.
Yeah, so when you use CSUBUY P2P to purchase items from the punch out catalogs, then you no longer need to use P cards. It will go through the requisition process and purchase order process, and it will get paid through accounts payable. So you no longer need to do the P card reconciliations. Mm-hmm. But for the items that are not in here in the punch out catalogs, that you will use the same process as you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do punch out requisitions such as Staples have to be approved by contracts and procurement? So there are items and dollar thresholds that will basically kind of skip some of the processes. So it will be faster processes. So I believe the threshold is 500 and there are specific requirements. So if it falls into those requirements, then it will just fly through. So it will be a much faster process. Okay, I hope I've answered all of the questions. But again, if you think of any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.